It's a bad day to be one of Joe Biden's cronies who weaponized the government of the United States against President Donald Trump and his supporters. Why? Because Donald Trump has just chosen Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News fame to be the new interim U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia.
The Democrats are the party of hate. The Democrats are the party that said he's a Putin asset, he's a Russian puppet. The Democrats are the ones who signed affidavits and lied to a court so that they could spy on a president of the United States. The Democrats are the ones who said that we're destroying democracy. Let me tell you something about Donald Trump. Let me tell you something about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is one of the most generous people you'll ever meet. He does all kinds of things that people have no idea about. And by the way, if he were selfish, he'd take his money and tell all of us to go F ourselves based upon the way this country has treated him. This guy got shot.
About him
Don't tell me he's selfish.
Are absolute fools.
No, let me tell you something. Donald Trump is the only one who moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. He's the only one who got the Abraham Accord.
Why aren't Jews voting for him?
I'm not going to fight with you anymore, Jessica. But I know the man, and the facts belie anything you say.
Yeah, that's her. That's the new U.S. attorney for the district. You can tell now why President Donald Trump was so excited to have her on his side and in his administration and running the attorney's office, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Columbia, which for the longest time has been one of the most corrupt and one of the most weaponized against not just President Donald Trump, but all Republicans, because it's been under the firm control of left-wing lunatic Democrats appointed by Joe Biden, whose only goal and whose sole purpose was to seek out the destruction of President Donald Trump. Now, this all comes, of course, on the heels of President Donald Trump having to renege his previous nominee, which we'll get to in just a minute. But he posted on Truth Social, "I am pleased to announce that Judge Janine Pirro will be appointed interim United States Attorney for the District of Columbia." Janine was Assistant District Attorney for Westchester County, New York, and then went on to serve as county judge and district attorney, where she was the first woman ever to be elected to those positions. During her time in office, Janine was a powerful crusader for victims of crime. Her establishment of the Domestic Violence Bureau in her prosecutor's office was the first in the nation. She excelled in all ways. In addition to her legal career, Janine previously hosted her own Fox News show, Justice with Judge Janine, for 10 years and is currently co-host of The Five, one of the highest rated shows on television. Janine is incredibly well qualified for this position and is considered one of the top district attorneys in the history of the state of New York. She is in a class by herself. Congratulations, Judge Janine. I will miss watching her on Fox News, but I am really excited to see what she does as the interim U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. Now, she still has to be certified by the Senate. And the reason her name is now in the mix is because of Thom Tillis from North Carolina, who refused to certify or to vote to confirm President Donald Trump's first choice for that position, who was Ed Martin. Yesterday, Donald Trump withdrew his support for Ed Martin and told the reporters in the White House, look, there wasn't the support and I was upset about it, but there's only so much I can do.
Yeah, but he's a terrific person, and he wasn't getting the support from people that I thought. He's done a very good job. Crime is down 25% in DC during his period of time. I'm very disappointed in that, but I have so many different things that I'm doing now with the trade. I'm one person. I can only I can only lift that little phone so many times in a day. But we have somebody else that will be great. I just want to say Ed is unbelievable, and hopefully we can bring him into, whether it's DOJ or whatever, in some capacity, because really outstanding. To me, it was disappointing, I'll be honest. I have to be straight. I was disappointed. A lot of people were disappointed. But that's the way it works sometimes, that's the way it works. And he wasn't rejected, but we felt it would be hard. And we have somebody else that we'll be announcing over the next 2 days who's going to be great.
And that person is, of course, Judge Janine Pirro, as we now know. But President Donald Trump was right. It would be hard for Ed Martin to get confirmed, because Thom Tillis came out, and what was really a peculiar statement, he said, look, I liked his answers. I liked what he had to say. He defended himself well. We agree on a lot of things, but I'm not going to defend him at all. And I'm not going to vote to confirm him. So President Donald Trump saying, look, I could have called Tom Tillis and yelled at him. I could have called and put him in his place. I could have called and threatened to primary him. I could have called and said, I'm going to support somebody in place of you in the next election unless you vote for Ed Martin to be the U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. I could do all that, but I'm busy. I'm making trade deals. I got stuff going on here. I'm being president of the United States, leader of the free world. I'm trying to regrow our economy and deport all these illegal criminals. I'm a very busy man, and sometimes it's just not enough time in the day to call up and yell at a rhino senator from North Carolina. So he had to move on, and he picked Judge Janine. But great news for Ed Martin. He did get that job at the DOJ. Ed Martin has done an amazing job as the interim U.S. attorney and will be moving to the Department of Justice, says President Donald Trump, as the new director of the Weaponization Working Group, Associate Deputy Attorney General, and Pardon Attorney. In these highly important roles, Ed will make sure we finally investigate the weaponization of our government under the Biden regime and provide much needed justice for its victims. Congratulations, Ed. What that means is that the guy that Donald Trump wanted running the District of Columbia U.S. Attorney's Office will now be going after all of the deep state operatives in the FBI, in the CIA, in the IRS, in the White House, wherever they were. He is now in charge of going after them, prosecuting them, and bringing them to justice. And that is not the person the Democrats wanted in that role. So with the deep state pressuring Tom Tillis or working with their rhino friend from North Carolina to move or to stymie, rather, the movement of Ed Martin into that position, they've now put Ed Martin in a position where they don't need Senate confirmation, and he can do a lot more damage to the deep state and the Democrat Party. So be careful what you wish for, folks. Sometimes you do get it. Donald Trump wished for a trade agreement with the UK, and he got one. He announced it yesterday in a 10 o'clock press conference with Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, on the phone. All of his trade representatives, Vice President J.D. Vance was there. Howard Lutnick was also there. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins, they were all there because this is a deal that affects pretty much every department in Donald Trump's cabinet. And Donald Trump made the announcement yesterday of the very first trade deal since he installed reciprocal tariffs on every country in the world.
I just want to begin by saying that this is a very special day because it's Victory Day, World War II, May 8th. And just by happenstance, we have the Prime Minister on the phone, and we were great allies in that, and it's very unusual that the trade deal comes due and we signed it up on the same day that we had a great victory, the greatest victory of them all. So we are talking more and more about Victory Day because we were a big part of it, and so was the UK. And it's just, I guess, I don't know what you call it. It's just incredible that that day is the same day that we signed a tremendous trade deal for both countries. So I'm going to begin by just adding that we just concluded the rare earth deal with Ukraine. That's been fully ratified and approved by their legislative branches. And so we appreciate that. And I'll be speaking with the president in a little while, a little bit later. And we appreciate that. But the deal is all now signed up and ratified. And we have access to a massive amount of very, very high quality rare earth.
Very exciting day, not just the Ukrainian deal, but the UK deal, which is significant. It is a deal that puts in place a framework, if you will, for future deals. It's a deal that puts in place the beginnings of the new golden age. This is what Donald Trump has wished for. This is what he's been determined to bring to the United States of America. And these are the kinds of deals that he's wanted to make with every country and will make with every country, starting with our largest ally, or number one ally, and one of the largest economies in the world, the United Kingdom. Jameson Greer was all over the news, of course, talking about this. And here's what he had to say about how significant this particular deal is.
So, Brian, great to be with you. And I can't really overstate the importance of this deal. The United Kingdom is the 6th largest economy in the world. They have an economy that's similar to ours in terms of development and rule of law and governance, et cetera. And so this is exactly the type of deal that we should be making. The UK did a pretty, bold thing a few years ago when they did Brexit, and part of the reason they did it is so they could have more control over their trade policy, separate from Europe. And we're seeing that today. They've agreed to open up their markets to our agricultural products, to our industrial goods, and importantly, to align with us on economic security. To your question, what does this mean for other countries? Is this a framework? This certainly is the framework. I've been talking to dozens of countries, and I tell them this. I walk through different buckets where we need to talk about tariffs, non-tariff barriers, economic security, etc. And this is the right framework, and other countries should look to this as a model.
And they will be looking to this for a model. In fact, that's one of the things that J.D. Vance, who was part of the trade agreement and negotiations, and of course was there for the announcement, that's what he told Fox News yesterday when they asked him why the UK deal out of the gate.
Why was the UK deal first? Is it the sort of the model for other deals? And why not go to the EU first, a bigger deal?
Well, first, I think we have a great relationship with the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister visited a few weeks ago. We had very good conversations with them. I think they were very responsive. I mean, look, President Trump has said very simply, all he wants at a lot of these trade negotiations is fairness, is reciprocity. He wants other markets to be as fair to American workers, frankly, as America has been to these foreign workers for decades, in some cases generations. And the United Kingdom was very willing to work with us. I think we had a great rapport with them. They were very open to hearing our concerns, and of course we heard some of their issues too. It was a good conversation. It was a good negotiation. It led to a successful result.
And that is exactly what we're looking for out of the other future deals. We're looking for successful arrangements. We're looking for complementary arrangements, and we're looking for great results. And we imagine that we're going to get them. Brooke Rollins, who's the agriculture secretary, she was part of the deal as well. She was part of this agreement. And as far as the agricultural trade barriers being lifted and the ability of the United States and United States farmers to now do deals with the UK, that is huge for our economic growth. And she pointed that out.
So I was standing in the Oval Office today, Sean, with President Trump, and just thinking to myself, I hope every American wakes up and watches this and understands what this man has done. He is bold. He is fearless. The courage is remarkable. He is completely realigning the entire world economy around agriculture and around putting Americans first. And you're right. We have been living under a tariff regime, but it's a tariff regime of other countries for so long now. And that all changed on Liberation Day, I think 4 weeks ago. But today was the first significant step as we reorient the entire world and put America first. It's just a really, really big day.
Yeah, very huge day for America, for the world, for the UK, and for anyone who has an interest in our economy, which is, well, pretty much every single person in the entire world. Speaking of revamping and a new start and big, bold maneuvers and strokes that Donald Trump is making, the FAA has become really a spotlighted part of America's infrastructure problems. Pete Buttigieg, who was the former transportation secretary, and Joe Biden not only ignored but neglected the current air traffic control system. And Patrick, I always call him Patrick Duffy. Patrick Duffy was from, I think, Dallas. But Sean Duffy, who is the transportation secretary, he spoke to many news outlets and also had a huge meeting with the FAA and really 50 different organizations about updating the plans for the United States of America, the plans for the Department of Transportation to update, really overhaul the FAA and how crucial it is, and and just how much of a state of disarray it currently is right now, again, because of the neglect of the prior administration.
This is real. And you've actually lost controllers because they were so stressed when that happened. And so what I would tell you is what you saw in Newark, you will see variations of that through the airspace in the coming years unless we undertake this mission.
And that is something that he is undertaking. He's undertaking it by order of the President of the United States. You remember when DOJ would send team members into the various different departments, or I think it was Kelly Loeffler. She went into the Small Business Administration and she saw just rows and rows of empty cubicles, empty desks where people hadn't worked for years because they were sent home during COVID and they never returned to the office. And all of that space was being underutilized and wasted, and the electricity that they were paying for all those buildings. Nobody was at work, and that was one of the very first things that they did. They demanded that people come back to work. Well, apparently that was going on at the Department of Transportation as well, and it was Pete Buttigieg, the secretary himself, who was one of the worst offenders.
The prior secretary indicated to me that this was a department that ran itself, and when he was a secretary, I'm not sure that he actually showed up to the office. Most of the office didn't come into work. And so as I've been here, this is my 100th day, Sean, I've been here for 100 days, and this is more than a full-time job. You have to show up. You have to work 12, 16 hours a day to do this job. And if you don't come, things don't happen. And for Pete Buttigieg, when you don't show up and you get multiple warnings from watchdog groups that say, hey, listen, the air traffic control system is failing. You have to take action. They did absolutely nothing. The Biden administration, remember this, Sean? They spent $1.2 trillion on infrastructure in America. $1.2 trillion. None of it went to fix the air traffic control system, which is a crumbling infrastructure, key infrastructure in this country. They didn't fix it. And so now we've been left with a problem, right? We had the DCA air crash. We then have had the Newark outage. And we have said in the Trump administration, listen, we don't pass problems off to the next administration. We actually fix problems. We take hard problems and we make them better. And so today we rolled out the most historic aviation plan that has been ever laid out in the history of man. We are going to rebuild every part, every aspect of the air traffic control system. So it's going to be, as you played the clip, it's going to be radios, radar, a whole infrastructure of telecom, all the front-facing and back-office side of telecommunication for air traffic controllers. They're going to have a brand new system. But here's what's key. All right. This would normally take... Oh, go ahead. Sean, go ahead. I was going to say, this would normally take 10 or 15 years. We can do this, Sean, in 3 or 4 years, fix this system, but we need Congress to give us all the money up front, and then we need them to waive a lot of the requirements for permitting. If they do that for us, we can actually build this really quick and make sure our skies are still the safest in the world.
Yeah, President Donald Trump has Sean Duffy in place, and he's saying, look, Congress has to give us money and release the regulations, which I'm all about. If you're going to use the money to keep Americans safe, that's great. If you're going to use the money to go to Ukraine, that's bad. If you want fewer regulations, I'm all about that too. Smaller government is better government. And it looks like if Congress can do that, then we will have one of the greatest aviation systems in the entire world by order of the President of the United States of America. Whether or not Congress can do that, that's a whole other story. And that's a whole conversation for another day. Very quickly, President Donald Trump said that he congratulated the brand new Pope Leo XIV, who was chosen yesterday in Rome, the very first American Pope. Cardinal Prevost from Chicago, a graduate of Villanova University, is now the new Pope, the first American-born Pope to be chosen to that high office for the Catholic Church. And President Donald Trump said, "Look, we're already making plans to hobnob."
Are you planning to meet the Pope in the near future?
Mr. President.
They've already called. When is that? Do you have a timing in mind?
They have already spoken to us, and we'll see what happens.
They've already called. The Pope called. The Pope was like, I'm the Pope. And then he immediately said, call President Trump. I gotta meet with that guy. But I imagine the American president, the American Pope, there will be some kind of meeting, whether it's at the White House or in Rome or somewhere else. But it's going to definitely happen. And it is, it is a great day for the United States of America to have not only a powerful president like Trump in the office of in the executive branch, but also to have an American Pope. Despite what his political leanings may be or some of the things he may have tweeted, it is a coup for this country, especially as we head into our 250th anniversary next year in 2026. Listen, we have a lot more news to cover about the Pope, about trade issues, about aviation, about whatever else could happen between now and the time we go live at 1 p.m. So make sure that you're listening to Mark K Saves the Republic, our second daily podcast. You can go to any of our podcast platforms, search Mark K Saves the Republic, download, listen, and enjoy.